Hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching COVID-19 India Fights Back. I'm Frank Rausen Pereira. Scientists in their research have found out why COVID-19 mainly affects adults and older people while young children are less prone to the virus. According to a US team of researchers, including those from the Vanderbilt University Medical Center, lower levels of receptor protein in children protects them from the virus. The COVID-19 virus uses receptor protein as a medium to attack the epithelial cells in the lungs, said the research. The Clinical Investigation Journal published the findings of the research. According to the study, receptor protein on the surfaces of certain lung cells spike after a particle containing coronavirus is inhaled into the lungs, making the person more vulnerable. In this edition of COVID-19 India Fights Back, we will analyze how vulnerable are children to the pandemic. Joining me on the program today are Dr. Sunila Garg, Professor and Head Community Medicine, Maulana Azad Medical College, Dr. Shobna Gupta, CMO Department of Pediatrics, Safdarjung Hospital, and Dr. Ram Vishwakarma, Advisor, CSIR, New Delhi. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of COVID-19 India Fights Back. All right, Dr. Shobna Gupta, let me begin the program with you first. Let's first try and understand and analyze how vulnerable are children to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes, thank you, Frank, for giving me this opportunity to discuss about the children. The children, as the various reports have suggested, that the children are lesser affected as compared to the adults, and the severity of the symptom is also less in children. But simultaneously, there are two things which we need to factors which are pointing towards it. Why children are less affected? One, as you specifically pointed out, is the genetic composition, that they have a little less expression of a certain receptor in their nasal epithelium, due to which their likelihood of getting infected, the ACE2 receptors become less as compared to the adults. That is one factor. Another factor is that why they become less vulnerable as compared to adults, because they generally have the lesser testing and the lesser hospital. They are presenting with the milder symptoms because of this less expression. They are getting infected. They have the. It's not that but the number of tests being done on the children are relatively less as compared to adults, because they are presenting with the milder symptoms. They mostly present, either they remain asymptomatic, they are the contacts, their parents are positive, or they present with mild symptoms like cough, coryza, normal cough and cold. And they don't throw many severe symptoms. So the parents take it as a normal flu, and they are not reported to the hospital, and they are not tested also as frequently as an adult might be. Thirdly, since they don't have,
Go ahead.
but they are equally vulnerable. We can't say that they are less vulnerable than adults. They are equally vulnerable to get the infection. So all the things, all the precautions are similar, which needs to be taken care, like the social distancing, the masking, and the hand hygiene. The three main things should be followed even in children. We cannot lower the guard, saying that they are less vulnerable. So,
Okay.
and few of the children can have severe manifestations, which are called as MIS-C, which can affect many other organs, okay, as compared to adults. So they have a different presentation as compared to adults. So we have to be really careful while we're dealing with the children, and we have to keep the index of suspicion high that it can be a COVID. It necessarily do not present with the respiratory symptoms. So they can present with loose stools, diarrhea, neurological manifestations, skin manifestations are coming with children. They're coming with rash, which is very typical, which is not seen in as comparatively seen in adults. So the children can affect each and any system of the body. So we have to be careful that they can, and the parents should be aware that the children can present with any system involvement in the body, contrary to adults, which mainly present with respiratory complaints.
Right. All right. So we'll talk about complications. We'll talk about, are there certain age groups, certain children that are more susceptible to the others in just a bit. But before that, Dr. Sunila Garg, are children too equally at risk as far as contracting the virus is concerned? And what about spreading it? Because I know it's still initial stages. There's not much research as far as COVID-19 is concerned. All the research is still in the initial stage. But what does it say about whatever research that we have right now? What does it say about children contracting the disease and also transmitting it or spreading it?
See, in Indian context, we have many reasons. One of the thing is that on an average, our Indian child suffers from 6 to 8 episodes of acute respiratory infection, number one. And number two is that our universal immunization program is very strong and very robust. You see, basically, like we are using BCG vaccine, we are using measles vaccine, MMR vaccine, which we call them as repurposed vaccine, so which protects the children, and also now there is a trial of BCG which is being used for adults as well. So that is where if we divide the children into two groups, one is 0 to 9 years and above 9 years of age. If we say that under 9 years of age, the infection is much less, but it doesn't mean that the children cannot spread the infection. They can be active carriers of infection. That is one thing which we have to keep in mind. The presentation may be very, very mild, as has been pointed out by Dr. Shobna, that they may suffer from mild ARI, mild gastrointestinal infection. Very few will suffer from severe infection. That is important. So that is where comes the role of elderlies also, that whenever they are going out, they must be properly masked, and they also must be following proper precautions in order to protect the children, because that is one of the major reasons and one of the major concerns what puts us to debate upon that why whether we should be opening our schools or we should not be opening our schools, because of this very reason, that they can spread the infection faster. And we have to look at the major chunk of population also. You see, if we look at pediatric age population, you see, it's a huge number. And adolescent population from 10 to 19 is about, basically we'll say it is about 1/5 of our population. So that's where, and pediatric population 0 to 14 is about 40%. So we are talking of big number, and that's where we need to talk in terms of infection, and we need to talk about prevention also. But by and large, we haven't seen the mortality in 0 to 9 years of age, and about 0.2% of mortality is seen in children who are 10 to 19 years of age.
Absolutely. On this issue of mortality, I'm going to take this particular aspect forward with you, Dr. Ram Vishwakarma. Since the mortality rate amongst children, toddlers, and children between the age group of 0 to 9 is so low, it's not that there have not been any cases, there have been cases, but since it's so very low and so very minuscule, I think that's the only positive as far as this COVID-19 pandemic is concerned, that it is not really taking the lives away of the children in the age group of 0 to 9. So that makes some of the adults and the parents breathe a little easy. But how do we ensure that, we keep it under check, especially, with regards to what Dr. Shobna Gupta has said, where, it manifests in different ways. It's not just a respiratory kind of problem with children. There are symptoms are varied. The symptoms are very different. How do you then treat or how do you then identify and try to put an end to this kind of a problem?
Yeah, so I think we have to understand the manifestation of disease in children. First is that ARDS is much less pronounced globally, and then but inflammatory syndrome is as powerful as in adults. Let's be very clear about this. So we should not be complacent that just because these symptoms are not manifest, because now we are learning about this virus that it has a long-term impact in the body. Multi-organ system inflammatory responses are there, which we will learn slowly. That's point number one. Point number two is that antibody response in children is coming limited way and late. So there are two sets of antibody responses that we know. Typically against S protein, which interact with the ACE2 receptor, and the nuclear capsid protein, what we call anti-N antibodies. Anti-N antibodies are not there in children. They are not able to mount anti-N antibody response. This is the important difference. So the treatment regime, particularly the vaccine strategy, has to be totally different for this particular set of population than the normal adult population. That's the first thing. And I think your debate is happening in a very interesting time. 3 days ago, a major study has been published in the very prestigious journal Nature, where they have came out with these findings, which I'm just repeating here. So there is a vaccine strategy has to be different. Therapeutic strategy has to be different. And one more aspect which particularly is that the since they are the first part of what my colleague said, that you divide these children into two age group. The first age group, the early age group, their innate immunity is very, very strong at that time because they are building their innate immunity, what we call the macrophages, dendritic cells, T cells. That's what is protecting them actually. What you see less disease manifestation is more powerful innate immunity, and which actually will build over the time. But one caution I will say that we should not directly translate the result from the studies done on Western population children to Indian children population, because we have particular differences. And major differences is in terms of what my colleague mentioned. The other is nutritional status of different strata of the children. So nutritional status also plays very important role. How active they are in terms of mounting T cell responses or innate immune responses, and later on the antibody responses. So this question still remain whether the vaccines that are being designed now, what you are hearing about Moderna and Pfizer and other vaccines coming out, there has to be separate approach to design vaccines of different age group children. This is a message very clear. If we, for example, get a vaccine for adult, and if we are not able to protect this population, then you will have again the similar problem happening. So I think
Right.
this is getting very clear from scientific point of view that these two set of population are behaving differently vis-a-vis virus is concerned.
Absolutely. All right, taking the discussion forward then. So, Dr. Shobna, are certain children or children in certain age groups more susceptible to certain other children?
Yeah, definitely. Amongst the children cohort, if we compare, by the different studies, it has been seen there are two spectrum of diseases in children basically. One is who's presenting with the asymptomatic or a milder disease, and the second is which is presenting with a multi-system inflammatory involvement, where the multiple systems are involved and the disease becomes very severe, and there is a inflammatory response is generated in the body, which is quite severe enough, and there are high chances of mortality or a death in such, and they need an intensive care monitoring. So amongst the children, regarding the age, different studies has shown actually there is a difference between the regional differences are also seen. Like in Western population, they have seen older age group more than 5 years having a more chances of having misty. While in some of the Asian studies are just started coming out now. There are two or three studies have come till now. So they have been shown even from our own institute. We have collected our data. Still, it is unpublished. So we have seen a little on the 0 to 5 years age group was more vulnerable in the Asian population. Second is the children with the comorbidities, like especially the children who are affected with tuberculosis. Like tuberculosis is a disease of the Asian population, malnourished children. So we have seen that the children which are coming with this disease, and even the literature from the European country, one of the literature showed the similar results in adults, not in children. So because tuberculosis is a disease mostly of Asian low-income population countries. So it has been seen that it is more common in those, the immunocompromised children who are on multiple therapies. So those children are definitely more susceptible to get a severe disease, and the disease form could be in any form. Otherwise, as such specific, we have not the other specific factors till now have not been isolated too much. Yes, the from the lower socioeconomic strata, and that is actually correlated with your malnourishment and the hand hygiene. So these things are actually interrelated. That how much exposure you are getting. So those children are definitely more suspected, and more recent, more literature is coming daily on these studies to see the factors, what factors are actually leading to the severe spectrum of the disease. Why some children are generating a good response as compared to the other children. So still studies are going on, and these are the few factors till now we are able to zero the point.
Okay, Dr. Shobna, since we are here, very quickly, I mean, I'm not sure how much studies are there really as far as these factors are concerned, but do factors like obesity, breathing related issues, do these also pose a higher risk?
See, obesity is definitely a high risk factor, but as you know, in our country, the obesity, the no published literature in children is as obesity is there till now in the children, as far as I know. Regarding the, secondly, you said the
Asthma or breathing related
respiratory problem,
bronchitis.
asthma. Yeah. What you will realize in the asthma, contrary, the protective effect is coming because most of the children who are actually asthmatic, they are already on a prophylactic steroid inhaler. The children, so probably their immune response generation is not that up to mark. So we have seen, although as per the adults, they see that they are at increased risk. But for in children, till now, we have not seen as such the increased risk in a patient with the bronchial asthma. So we are correlating with this fact that they are already on medications, which is they are already on steroids and inhaled corticosteroids for the control of their symptoms. So probably their immune response is already under control. So they are not going to the severe spectrum of the disease. So
Right.
that is still in experimental, but we have not seen till now.
All right. Dr. Sunila Garg, couple of questions to you as well. One, of course, what are the telltale signs that parents need to look out for as far as their wards are concerned to know if they could possibly be infected with COVID-19? That is one. Secondly, of course, why is there less mortality really as far as children are concerned?
We need to take into consideration that our country is very, very diverse. On one hand, we have got, states like Bihar, Madhya Pradesh and all that. On the other hand, we have got, better performing states. So we need to have the capacity building of the parents in terms of education, which is very, very important, that they need to be on the lookout for the symptoms. The second thing is also that one major factor is that indoor air pollution also plays a very, very critical role in acute respiratory infection, which one of my studies has shown in the community settings. Then children, who are belonging to urban slum settings where overcrowding is very, very common, they are also otherwise also prone for these infections. So one is that at every time where you see the departments have to look at that, we must reach out to the communities, and education will play a very, very critical role in empowering the patients, that whether to look at, about the symptoms in children, whether that is in the form of acute respiratory infection or gastrointestinal symptoms or any other unusual symptom, they must consult the healthcare provider. And it is now more and more, I'm seeing in the last few days, wherever the parents are positive, the children are also coming out to be positive. And that's what most of the pediatricians are also noticing. So that's where we need to be, cautious about this fact. And your second question focused on which part of it
Mortality rate among children.
Yeah, mortality rate amongst children as it is low, but we have to still keep into consideration the nutrition status. They are immunized at right point of time, that is important. And then we need to take into consideration the proper hygiene measures like SMS, sanitization, masking and safe distancing or physical distancing. At the same time, the parents need to be aware that they need to wash their hands very frequently. They also need to be, wearing masks when they go out. And the third part is also they need to maintain not the social distancing, but physical distancing from the children. That is important, particularly for the parents, who are working healthcare professionals and who are into, at high risk of contracting the infection.
Absolutely. All right. So, Dr. Ram Vishwakarma, let's talk about another aspect completely. You spoke about how COVID-19 recent studies have shown that it has long-term impact. It has long COVID is what people are calling it, and how it has, an impact on several of the internal organs and multiple organs. Let's look at it from another perspective also. What about the psychological impact and that is likely to have, especially on children, because they are not going to school anymore, they are locked indoors, they're spending so much of time on their screens. So these are some aspects that we need to consider and look at as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think these are very unusual times for a child to grow, and obviously we do not know what impact this will be having at that age and how it's going to shape when they sort of grow up. But that's one aspect. The other important aspect we must keep in mind, other than psychological impact, and I must mention here that children are much more vulnerable because now, in fact, 10-15 days ago, a new receptor has been identified on neurons. You must be hearing that, the virus is going into central nervous system. So there is a neuropilin 1 receptor which been identified, which is facilitating entry of virus going to the central nervous system. So this is really warning sign. So I think other than psychological, but I would say that morbidities which short term cannot be monitored, children are much more susceptible to comorbidities developing in future. For example, now we know that virus is enhancing the size of cardiomyocytes. The heart muscles are growing. So this is a long-term problem for developing cardiovascular symptoms or diseases. Then you have a problem with your central nervous system, problem with kidneys. The virus is going to kidneys. Now, when you early age formation, when the lungs are or these organs are being formed. So I think we have to start studies on following these children who got infection, because follow-up for those people who come to our hospital is not really that, because this is such a suddenly we have a pandemic, we don't have resources to do that. But eventually, good hospital will have to start doing that, looking at the status of children when they are released. So I think psychological is one aspect, but comorbidities developing in future. Many people who got out of the hospital, I'm told they are coming back to hospital with complications which are unexplained complications. And particularly, I'm told by several of my colleagues who are treating these patients that they are saying that this virus loves clean lungs. So people who have cleaner lungs are more susceptible to people who have so it's a very sort of ironic situation where, people who are living in a very closed environment, protecting themselves with all these clean air and, putting all these devices. So I think the story is still evolving, but I must say that we must protect this set of population, and we have to create a strategy, because nobody is talking about developing pediatric vaccine. Nobody talking about therapeutic drug developed for children. And this is the 50%, 30% population. As you know, we cannot give full doses of, say, dexamethasone to a child. I'm sure both of colleagues, you have to have reduced doses for children, or almost all the medicine that we give. So I think we need to start clinical studies directed to this set of population, because this is our future. We have to protect them, and we have to protect so they remain healthy. But good thing for India is, I must mention here, India is one country which has adhered to, despite several countries reduce their guideline, but universal immunization program, the kind of immunization that happens in this country and which is across the board, even poor, rich, everybody gets this. I think those are the one which are protecting our children. The mortality question that you said, I am actually linking to those vaccinations happen, very structured vaccination that we do to our children. And they boost the innate immunity so much that actually virus is taken care of before antibody response set in. You have the T cell response, you have the other dendritic cells and other responses of innate immunity is protecting. So I think we are in a better situation than many of the developed countries where they have they don't have universal immunization programs. So they are much more vulnerable. So we have pluses, but we have minuses, particularly because of nutrition level. So I think, I'm sure our clinic must be testing nutrition, and there should be general awareness through your media and other that nutrition status, particularly the vitamins, now with the D we know, E1 we know, C we know. So I think we have to measure those parameters and give supplementation to this set of population.
Absolutely. All right. On that note, then, I'll call it a wrap on this edition of COVID-19 India Fights Back. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. Remember to follow these protocols. Right now, we don't have a vaccine, we don't have any treatment. Till that time, a few simple steps will go a long way in defeating the pandemic. As always, I'd like to make an appeal to all our viewers to defeat the coronavirus. Remember to wear a mask whenever you step outside, wash your hands and face regularly, and maintain physical distancing of at least 6 feet. Together, we can defeat the coronavirus. That's it from me. See you again next time.